Madame Viau invited me to spend the evening to meet a mysterious young lady, a friend of Madame Sand. I went there in spite of my cold and in torrents of rain. There I found Madame Plessis, a charming young lady who made me promise to write to Madame Sand on her behalf. Thought. First thoughts. The first main outlines with which a skillful master indicates his thought contain the germ of every characteristic that the work will ultimately possess. Raphael, Rembrandt, Poussin. I purposely mention these painters because they excelled above all by the quality of their thought. Flung a few swift lines upon the paper, not one of which appears unimportant. To the intelligent eye, the life of the picture is already apparent everywhere, and nothing in the subsequent development of the theme, vague though it appears, will deviate from this conception, which is already complete, although it has scarcely unfolded itself to the light. Can this being, whose existence he feels and may not question, continue to live when its habitation of bone and flesh, in which the blood circulates and the nerves perform their functions, has ceased to be the active workshop, the laboratory of life that maintains itself amidst opposing elements, and despite many accidents and vicissitudes? When the eyes have ceased to see, what becomes of the sensations that reach the poor soul, sheltered I know not where, through these windows onto the outside world? You will say that the soul remembers when it has seen, and lives and consoles itself by its memories. But if memory itself should die, memory which does, after a fashion, replace sound and hearing, and the other senses which we lose one after another, what then will keep alive the invisible flame? What becomes of the soul when paralysis or imbecility have driven it to the last refuge? On the power of thought and imagination with which man is gifted. Fatal gifts. It clearly matters very little to nature whether man has a mind or not. No sooner does man sharpen his wits, enlarge his ideas and his manner of expressing them, and develop his needs, than he finds nature frustrating him at every turn. He has to be continually at war with her, and she on her side does not remain inactive. If man ceases for a moment from his self-imposed task, nature reclaims her rights, invading, undermining, destroying, or disfiguring all his work. She seems to grow impatient at having to tolerate the masterpieces of his imagination and the work of his hands. For what do the Parthenon, or St. Peter's in Rome, or so many other miracles of art signify to the march of the seasons, or to the courses of the sea, the rivers and the winds? An earthquake or the lava from a volcano can destroy them in the twinkling of an eye. The birds nest in their ruins, and the wild beasts drag the bone of their founders from the open graves. The world was not made for man. Man is the master of nature and is mastered by it. He is the only living creature who not only resists but overcomes the laws of nature and extends his authority by energy and force of will. But to say that the universe was made for man is a very different matter. All man's constructions are as transitory as himself. Time overthrows his buildings and blocks his canals. It reduces his knowledge to nothing and obliterates the very names of his nations. smell sulfur. Let me hear no more of this absurd maxim. We need the new. We must follow our century. Everything changes. Everything is changed. Sophistry, all of it. What do these so-called artists mean when they preach the discovery of the new? Is there anything new? Everything has been done. Everything has been discovered. Do not concern yourself with other people. Concern yourself with your own work alone. Drawing is the probity of art. To draw does not simply mean to reproduce contours. Drawing does not consist merely of line. Drawing is also the expression, the inner form, the plane, the modeling. See what remains after that.